Good morning, everyone. Madam Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, Carleton graduates. It is my pleasure and privilege to present our honorary doctoral candidate, John Daniel O'Leary. As a librarian, as someone who works in a university and in an academic library surrounded by reading materials of all kinds, it's easy for me to see the enormous value of Carleton graduate and Ravens team member John O'Leary's extraordinary lifelong efforts in support of literacy. John O'Leary joined Frontier College in 1976 as a teacher in a prison literacy program, and in 1991 he was appointed president of the college, a position he held for 16 years. Under his leadership, Frontier College launched several innovative programs, including a national initiative to organize literacy programs with volunteers from every university and college campus in Canada. He found a home suited to his passion at Frontier College. It was established in 1899. The college recruits volunteers to work with children, youth, and adults, and also helps other community organizations set up their own literacy programs. Mr. O'Leary has been a strong supporter of the college's philosophy that literacy is more than just the ability to read and write. To quote the college, "It's the ability to understand the printed word and put it to use. It's about strengthening culture, achieving goals, gaining knowledge, and recognizing potential. It's about succeeding in today's world, and succeeding is not just about going on to a lucrative career. It's about the ability to get your driver's license or being able to read to your children." John O'Leary's drive and influence in support of literacy have extended beyond the college as well. He was a presenter at the first Canadian Conference on Literacy and Health in 2000. In 2003, he gave a presentation to the House of Commons Standing Committee on Human Resource Development and the Status of Persons with Disabilities, in which he talked about his own professional experiences and argued cogently in support of literacy. In reviewing the text online, I was struck not only by his passion for the cause, but also by his ability to marshal facts and to speak confidently to the legislators and others in attendance. His published materials also support this cause he believes in. Creating a Love of Reading is a beautifully produced book that combines practical advice on setting up literacy programs with a recognition of the vital importance of reading, and all of it anchored in an intelligent and enthusiastic philosophy. John O'Leary has had many other accomplishments in his career as well. He is the co-founder of several national advocacy groups for literacy, including ABC Canada and the Business Task Force on Literacy. He was a committee member of the Mr. Christie Children's Book Award, a member of the federal government's Task Force on Social Policy and Reform, and the National Crime Prevention Council. He has also served on the boards of a wide range of volunteer and literacy organizations, including the Coalition of National Voluntary Organizations and the Advisory Group on Literacy for the Ontario Ministry of Education. A friend and colleague of his describes Mr. O'Leary rightly as the father of the present adult literacy movement in Canada, and highly deserving of being honored by Carleton. She continues, "Literacy has never had a more articulate or passionate advocate. He has done so much, and I am so happy that the alma mater that he adores ardently is recognizing him in this way." Madam Vice Chancellor, in recognition of his lifelong commitment and leadership in advancing literacy among marginalized and underserved communities, and his service to the unique educational opportunity offered by Frontier College, I request that you confer the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, upon John Daniel O'Leary.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Faculty Senate and the Board of Governors, and thanks to technology and to good friends, I hereby bestow upon John Daniel O'Leary the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto pertaining, and I suggest you applaud extra loud so he can hear it on his computer.
Madam Vice Chancellor, Carleton board members, each of you 2016 Carleton graduates, parents, families, and friends, honored guests. Thank you for the honor of this award and for the honor of addressing you at this convocation this morning. You know, I've been thinking of something memorable to share with you about my years at Carleton. I think of the classes and discussions in history and political science that taught me the cost of oppression and the power of liberation. I think about the classes about the meaning and power of great literature, which has given me a love of reading, so that here in the hospital I have on my bedside table volumes of Shakespeare, Alice Munro, Oscar Wilde, and Stephen King. I think of the interception I made in the Panda game leading to a Carleton touchdown. I think about the lectures I heard by prominent people of the time, Germaine Greer, a new politician named René Lévesque, authors John Irving, Timothy Finley, and a young prime minister named Trudeau. I remember meeting students from across Canada and around the world. I remember a large group of Carleton students helping to organize the first ever Greenpeace demonstration at the United States Embassy against nuclear testing. I remember the October crisis when Canadian Army troops were on the Carleton campus and Carleton students were arrested. And I remember the constant intellectual enrichment of campus events and opportunities, Italian films, book clubs, and late-night political discussions and arguments in the Loeb Lounge. But the memory that I wish to share with you today, and the lesson I want to give to you, is very simple. Return your library books on time. Because 40 years ago, I was sitting where you were sitting this morning. My name was called. I walked to the stage to accept my degree from Chancellor Hertzberg. I was given a large folder. I was walking off stage. I opened the folder, and there was a tiny card which read, Mr. O'Leary, you will receive your degree when these books are returned to the Carleton Library. But I'd like to speak with you briefly this morning about failure and disappointment. The personal and professional failures and disappointments that we all will inevitably face, how to understand and overcome them. First of all, professionally. As president of Frontier College, a national literacy organization, I set out to achieve two main goals. One, to recruit students from every university in Canada as literacy tutors for oppressed people living in poverty across the country. Second, to organize a 10-year campaign which would have run from 2006 to 2016 to teach 1 million impoverished people to read and to write. I did not achieve either of those goals. And when I left Frontier College, I was largely disappointed, thinking I had failed as president because I had failed to achieve those large goals. But I began to think about that and discuss with colleagues, and I discovered things about our work together at Frontier during my presidency. And I realized that the literacy camps we began in 5 Indigenous communities now operate in 125 communities across the country. The literacy training materials we designed are now being used by teachers and tutors across the country, across Canada. And I've heard from a former alcoholic I taught to read and write using recovery materials he had to read, who is now sober, happy, working with a family, and wrote me a personal letter to tell me his story. So I've learned to reconsider what may seem like failure when you do not seem to achieve large, important goals. We cannot allow our inability to do everything to undermine our determination to do something. And as I learned in a Carleton philosophy class from the writings of Albert Camus, who wrote, "Perhaps we cannot prevent the world from being a place where children are tortured, but we can reduce the number of tortured children." And I'd also like to reflect on personal failure or troubles or disappointments, the inevitable troubles each of us face in life. This past year has been especially difficult for me. My brother Michael died very suddenly in the spring. In October last year, I had my left leg amputated due to a virus in the blood. And I'm speaking to you now from a hospital, a long-term care facility, because of an infection in my leg, which has prevented me from being with you this morning. And there is a danger when facing personal troubles that darkness and fear will overcome us, and that we will just see failure and disappointment. But when these troubles happen to you, and they will, you must remember that it's possible, it's essential to see other things, to see what Jean Vanier, the founder of the L'Arche movement, has called goodness everywhere. And I've been seeing that this past year in my family and friends who come to visit, to support and encourage me in the 3 hospitals I've been in, and to sneak in snacks not allowed by the hospital authorities. I see goodness in friends like Michael Berry, who is with you there today, and his partner Leslie. And Michael, by the way, was a Ravens hockey star when we were at Carleton together. Michael, Leslie, and my other friends brought me books, laughter, and support through difficult times. I see goodness in the 3 hospitals I've been in this year. In Fudger House, where I am this morning, where the nursing staff, the medical staff, the professional staff are so kind, competent. And I see them taking time to console and encourage patients, especially those who are most isolated and alone. I see patients themselves, with help from community volunteers, supporting each other, caring for each other, and organizing events to pass the time meaningfully, organizing book clubs, Jeopardy games, social events. I saw goodness at my brother Michael's funeral, which was an enormous tribute to him, with a packed church service, the flags in his small hometown lowered in tribute to him, and a friend of mine saying of him, he was the kind of person, Michael, who made small towns work. And finally, I found goodness and strength in the insights of thinkers I admire, like Métis writer Maria Campbell, Thomas Merton, Pema Chodron, the Gospel of St. John, Dorothy Day, C.S. Lewis, all who teach us to confront and overcome fears and feelings of failure and disappointment. So my wish for each of you this morning, as well as congratulating you on your achievement, is that you will dream, pursue, and achieve big dreams, and always find and see the goodness in those personal and professional challenges you will be facing. And remember the lovely poem by Langston Hughes, "Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, like as life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly." Meanwhile, I'll be leaving this hospital shortly and paying up to $50 in overdue library fines to the Toronto Public Library because I've taken books out and haven't been able to return them. So please pay those library fines. Mr. Jones, Dr. Jones will be delighted. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you very much. Bye for now.